Have we just found the lightest trail shoe known to man? Let's find out today on Running with James.
Change your mind, change your life.
And welcome back to another edition of Running with James. Today, we are giving you our review of the Salomon S-Lab Pulsar. This is a super lightweight racing trail shoe from Salomon. If you're new to the channel, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so that you know about all things Running with James. We do shoe reviews, training techniques, we build a community all around running, fitness, and a happy, healthier life. As usual, we'll start with the upper. We'll talk about the midsole, the outsole, everything in between, our likes, our dislikes, and by the end of the video, you'll know whether we think this is something that you just have to have or maybe something you should sleep on. All right, guys, starting with the upper. The upper is Salomon's Matrix Upper. Now, this is a fabric weaved fiber that offers a really sock-like fit. So it's all one piece of material. So meaning that it is the tongue, it's very booty style, much like a sock. Now, I will say that for me, this was a tight fit. Now, it has some overlays and some different protection to offer additional support because it does have a very tight and snug fit like a sock. It has a toe bumper on the front of it to protect your toes because it is a trail shoe. And so I found that for me, this upper fit extremely snug. Now, in the past, I've tried Salomon shoes before and they've always been extremely narrow. Now, obviously, I'm sure that's a branding thing. I'm sure it has a lot to do, they do a lot of trail shoes. So they're doing a lot of probably mountain running, so up and down mountains. So you want that to be snug. You want it to fit really tight. You don't want a lot of movement in there. But for me, this thing was pretty narrow. Now, compared to some of the other Salomon shoes, it actually fit a little bit better in the toe box. So I felt like I had plenty of room in the toe box, but for me, where I found the biggest issues was right around the medial side of the instep, on that instep, right in there, right around the arch of the shoe. Now, I did feel like with the upper that I had a really good lockdown in my heel, and part of that might be because of the little pads that they put inside the heel collar. So kind of like, reminds me a little bit of like, you know, the Nike shoes, they're doing that to offer a little bit of protection around the heel to lock that heel in. And so the lacing system is their quick draw lacing system. So you've got this little pull tab that you pull up to release it and you pull down to lock it in. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not a fan. I do not like this quick lacing system. And the biggest reason is I never really felt like I could get the right exact fit that I wanted. And then in addition with that, there's this little pocket that is made for the little quick release system that just slides right in there. And so it actually is kind of a neat little concept and idea where it's very sleek, it's very sexy, and there's nothing in the way, nothing to get snagged. But for me personally, I felt a lot of pressure when I put this up here on my ankle. And so I think with the combination of how tight the sock-like fit is, and then where this tongue and this little quick release system lays, I felt a lot of pressure right there on the top portion of my ankle whenever I would run. Now, once I got into the runs, you know, it was more aggravating than painful, so I never got any bruising or anything like that, but I was not a fan. Now, I did some research to see, you know, could I just replace the laces, right? Could I take these out and put in regular laces? And everything I saw basically was that the holes that they've created here are just so small that you wouldn't actually be able to put in real laces. And I was not brave enough to cut these things off and try to put it in. And then I'd be stuck like Chuck, or I'd have to replace the quick lace system, right? So I just didn't want to go through all that. So for me, I think that the upper is just a little bit too narrow. It's cool. I did not feel like there were a bunch of hot spots or anything like that. And it was really tight around those arches, and I was not a fan of the lacing system. So I think that the upper has a lot of potential. Definitely with that collar, it locked in so you weren't worried about debris or anything like that. And I felt like it was super duper lightweight with that material, but the fit just wasn't for me. Moving on to the midsole of the shoe. The midsole of this shoe is Salomon's Energy Surge foam. Now, this is supposed to provide excellent energy return, along with a high level of cushioning, but be extremely durable. And what I found is that yes, it was comfortable. I did feel like I was getting a great amount of energy return. And to be honest, or completely transparent, I like using that word a little bit better, but to be completely transparent, I think this might be, foam-wise, one of my favorite foams for a trail shoe, very specific to a trail shoe. It was a light foam, it was bouncy, I felt fast when I tried to run in it, and I really did enjoy, whether it was in the forefoot or in the heel, whichever way. When you're going downhill, you tend to land a little more on your heel. When I'm running, I'm more of a midfoot striker. So I really felt like no matter whether I was going downhill, whether I was going up here, I could go fast, I could really punch off, and I felt that bounce and that energy return. Had it up to longer runs as well, and found it to be a comfortable shoe on the longer runs. Now, even though I like the foam, and I think the foam is one of my favorite parts of this shoe, I will say that the platform of the foam, and maybe that has a little bit more to do with when we get to the outsole, but I'm gonna just go ahead and address it now. The platform of the shoe is kind of narrow, right? So going back to our upper, the upper felt a little narrow. The platform of the actual sole as well, or the foam, is pretty narrow. And so I did not feel like I was very stable. Okay. Now maybe it's because the foam is soft and bouncy, maybe that had something to do with it, but I didn't have a lot of stability. So when running on uneven terrain, running on rocky terrain, going down hills or trying to make cuts and things of that nature, I felt at any given moment my ankle could roll and my foot would just fall off, okay? So, which is probably not a good thing for a trail shoe. So for me personally, I love the foam, but the stability of the shoe just wasn't there for me. Now for the outsole. Now the outsole is Salomon's Contra Grip rubber outsole. Now I will tell you right now, this outsole I thought was pretty grippy, right? So when running in gravel or when running on rocks, whether it was wet or dry, I found that the rubber itself was really, really nice. Where the downside is the lug depth, okay? Now I don't know, I couldn't really find exactly what the lug depth was on here, but we're talking maybe 1 millimeter, maybe 2 millimeters on this lug depth. And that's not a super aggressive lug depth for a trail shoe. So when you are running on pretty kept trails, or if it's a rocky trail, this shoe is gonna do really well as far as traction is concerned. But if you get any kind of slop out there, if you get any kind of mud or any kind of, maybe little deeper gravel in there, you're probably gonna slip around quite a bit because that's what happened for me. If they just added another millimeter or two to this lug depth, I think that this outsole would be amazing. This is definitely a racing shoe. Probably one of my favorite things about this shoe is the weight of this shoe. For my size 10.5, it came in right about 7.4 ounces. That is crazy to me. That is actually lighter than some of my marathon racing shoes that I am wearing and testing right now. For a trail shoe, that's nuts. It's held up really well. I think they have great potential in this shoe as far as the comfort, the foam. It's fast, it's bouncy, and it really is extremely light. So if you're someone who has a narrow foot, if you're someone who is looking for a shoe that is extremely form-fitting, this could be something you're going to love. The downside is, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the lacing system. The lacing system needs some work, or at least have the option of switching out for regular laces. The upper is extremely snug, almost so snug that it was uncomfortable, to be honest with you, right? Especially in the arches of my foot. And because of that, I think because of that tightness and because of that narrow platform, it really does feel extremely uneasy. If this was a racing shoe for the road, I would say, it's just fine. You're going straight, it's not a big deal. But for something where you're gonna need to be turning and you're gonna be going up and down and there could be undulating terrain or some really technical terrain, I think that this shoe, for me anyway, would be a dangerous shoe because I would definitely probably roll my ankle with this shoe. So for us, the Salomon S-Lab Pulsar is something you probably should just skip.
That is our review of the Pulsar S-Lab from Salomon. Did you enjoy the review? If you did, please give us a thumbs up. We really, this is probably one of the most excited times for me when it comes to shoes, whatever. There's so many new shoes going out, and this is one of those shoes that I was really excited about. It didn't pan out all that great, but I think there's a lot of potential in this shoe. And if they just made a few tweaks, this could be the best trail running and trail racing shoe ever. So Salomon, if you're watching this, maybe make a version, Pulsar Plus or something like that, for those of us who have a little bit wider foot and those of us who want a little bit more stability in that racing shoe. So asking you guys, what is something that you're excited about? What shoe right now are you wearing or are you thinking about getting that you're really, really excited about? Whether it's a trail shoe, whether it's a road racing shoe, whether it's just a daily trainer, what shoe out there are you most excited about? We want to hear about it. We want to talk about it down in the comments below. Thank you guys once again for coming in. Remember, as always, when you change your mind, you can change your life. We'll see you guys next week.